You are watching Up Close with TechGeeks, a ZealousWeb initiative for empowering businesses and tech professionals by providing meaningful information. Whether you are a freelancer offering landing page design services or an IT firm that provides web design and development solutions, if you're finding it hard to stay ahead of the curve, you must watch this episode until the end. Well, to cut a long story short, today we have a very special guest for you guys. He is not an Indian citizen, which is a surprise. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest. Well, my guest is Martin. He is a Danish citizen and he loves jazz music and he's a freelancer. Welcome to the show, Martin.
Thank you.
Well, today I'm also joined by a co-host. My co-host is 𝐔𝐩𝐢𝐬𝐿. She's a client acquisition specialist, and in her free time, she loves socializing with friends and exploring new places. Welcome to the show, 𝐔𝐩𝐬𝐿.
Thank you so much for having me, Danish.
Well, guys, I'm really glad that both of you joined me in the show. So, how was your experience working with Martin?
It was a splendid experience, to be honest. And if I have to, tell in summarized way that how it was working with him and how I know about him. So I would say he is somebody who is a digital technology enthusiast who actually stands by work-life balance, love to travel and making new connections with people. He has a gene of research and a great psyche to incorporate automation in IT infrastructure. He adapts changes, and I believe it is a very robust quality to have when one is working in a sector such as information technology.
Lovely. Martin, I mean, whatever she said, if you're really like that, you are an extremely wonderful person, I must say, because finding all these qualities in one person is quite difficult. What do you say, 𝐔𝐻𝐿?
True.
Yeah, alright. So Martin, before we jump into the technical questions, I would like to ask you a simple question first. You've been in India for approximately a month now. How are you finding it?
It's the first time I've ever been to India, so I had kind of a culture shock to begin with.
Right.
It's overwhelming, the sound, the smells, the taste, the noises, like everything. But I think already now after a month, it feels like natural to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know because if you talk about your country, I know there are various changes when you come to India, especially in terms of food. So I hope you have enjoyed eating here.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I think almost every day I had something new to eat, taste something different. One thing I was very afraid of was that the food would be so spicy that I couldn't eat one meal. That I'd just be crying for a month and everyone would say I'm a small baby or something. But in reality, it was just really delicious, and I've been hosted by some very generous people that have taken me out and shown me the culture and the food, and it's been great.
So, how did you become a service provider? I mean, our audience would love to hear that a little bit about your journey. How did you become that?
Yeah, it's long story, but short. I started with my own interest. I studied jazz music. I wanted to play music, but very quickly I found out you can't make money with this. So I made a compromise and say, well, I want to be a graphic designer. I moved to Berlin 10 years ago, but there's so many other graphic designers, so I couldn't survive like that. I had no education, so that's the advice I want to give, is that as quickly as possible, get a servant mindset and think about what is actually the problems around me. How can I solve them? What skills do I have that fit with that? Or is there some really big problems that I can learn quickly, maybe I don't need a long education for? So as long as you're able to see problems in businesses around you or people's lives around you, and they're willing to pay money for that, you have a business, right? You become a service provider, but it's very important to, I think, to focus, to use your skills to serve your clients, and not to use your clients to show off your skills.
Well, that is a wonderful line. Use your skills to serve your clients rather than using your clients to show off your skill. I mean, I think every business should keep that in mind if you want to grow, guys.
Yeah.
So, yes. That was wonderful. I mean,
yeah. So, like, how do you recommend a first step to materializing an idea?
Well, so I think what many tech people, nerds, we're often builders. Like we want to just like try it out and start making something. But in my experience is that it's better first to have a really good plan and to wait a longer time before you start doing something. So when you have an idea, get it down on paper, make some, people are using flowcharts, diagrams, user stories. There's different ways, but first get the idea down on a paper where you could explain it to a friend that's maybe not a techie, and don't write any code to begin with, because in the end it should not be about the technology, but about the problem you're solving, and you have to be able to explain that on an abstract level, maybe even visually. So that would be the first step, to make some kind of visualization or a concept of what it is you're actually trying to do with your idea.
True.
And I think that applies in every aspect of your life, not just when you're building an app or website. I guess. You need to visualize everything beforehand.
True.
So my next question to you is like, how do you go about creating a minimum viable product?
Yeah, so if you have this idea, let's say you have maybe even high fidelity mockup, like an interactive demo that you build with mockups and Vision or something, that you have your application, and now you want to actually make that product available to, let's say, a test group or to your investors or something. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Try to reuse the resources that are there. And as a developer, when you have a terminal, there's a lot of CLI tools that you can use to build with a single command, like a web shop, or with one command style, a Firebase product. And so with just a few commands, you could actually have a product set up as a scaffolding and connect that to database services very quickly, like within 1 hour. And then try to find a way that with the least amount of time, you could have something online in the cloud, scalable and ready to be tested. So as if you're an engineer, if you're a builder, you're a developer, you really want, that's the fun part, building it. But the best thing is to try to find something with as little time as possible that you could actually test with the people you're trying to serve. And then based on that, you're going to do the development.
Correct. So, like, we have seen a lot of examples, like 90% of the startups do fail in the first year of the establishment. So, how do you suggest that can be avoided?
Yeah, so I think it's the same thing we're talking about, that people, they think they have a great idea, they have to make assumptions about what's going to work, they make maybe some analysis before, and maybe they even spend years to build the idea, but I think the great app is not a great planned app, but it's a process. So you are preparing to fail iteratively, and always have a workflow where it's not the first version is going to be successful and make you a profit or something. But that to succeed, you have to be focused on the problem you're actually solving and get the information from there, not just tech experts or something like that. Because in the end, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to solve specific business problem or specific problem for users. And if you're not listening to them, how can you know if you're actually successful?
True.
Right? Always just the numbers, conversion, or sales doesn't always reflect if you're actually being effective.
Correct.
Yes, and I think a great idea becomes a great idea when you get the output that you're expecting, right? So in the beginning, you cannot say the idea is great until and unless you try this multiple times and come up with an output that is actually helpful to a lot of people, I guess. So, okay, you are a certified Google architect. So tell us a little bit about building app in cloud.
It's very interesting. Like I used to just do front ends, like just the design, static websites, no database, and then with Firebase, it was very easy to have a database with application. So I didn't need a backend developer anymore to make that minimal viable product. I could work with the backend. With the cloud, that opens up your application to the rest of the world, and the world is filled with thousands, probably millions of APIs from other services. So in that sense, we're kind of we're not aware of the potential that we have the amount of opportunities that there is in the cloud with all the other services that we can use, and they are growing every day.
Right.
So when you're building with the cloud, it's very important that you don't think about what can I build with my knowledge, as I said before, because it's endless, right? You would never get done, or you would never even get started in the right place. But if you're focusing on that business goal of your client or the problems of your users, then it's easier to go and say which of all these endless opportunities and APIs like machine learning, or there's many services out there that you could use. Not to think about what can I build with the cloud, because you can make anything. So, but if you're really focused on that in the cloud, you can use so many services that are already there, and that empowers you a lot as a developer, because you don't have to invent machine learning. You don't have to invent these things. These services are already out there. So that's why I took the certification, to be able to work with my clients on that level and just be aware of the scope. I can't master these technologies, but I learned about what Google have in their array. It's like 80 or 100 different services, right? So just to be aware of that opens up the mind a bit to what is actually possible.
And I think it plays a crucial role in like cutting the cost. If I'm not wrong, correct me. Like if you use cloud technology, so there's an app. Does it like reduce the waste in some or the other way possible? Like
So let's imagine that you make an application, and at one point you're gonna have 1 million users in one day.
Right.
So before, when you would have you would host your own application on your own server. Maybe let's say you have 1 server, 3 servers in a closet somewhere, and it works fine. You have low cost, you manage it yourself, and then when the 1 million user comes, it crashes right away, and all your users run away and they don't come back, right? Or you have to call up the server company and then rent 100 machines or something, and you have to sign half-year contract, and then the 1 million users is then gone before the contract is signed. So in the end, just with server costs, to pay as you go and scale up and down, that's one huge advantage, that you can scale from nothing with no cost to any amount and be on. Google is not the only provider, right? But that's what I work with. Also, the APIs, they're making it very easy to integrate that in the project, even so that you don't maybe need a data engineer to use some of these things. So that's one thing I like to work with Google Technologies, because they try to make it very easy for the developer to use it. So I could go from front-end developer to more full stack without having the knowledge, but to use some of these tools to add value to my clients. Right?
So guys, if you're looking forward to like reducing your cost, start using Google Cloud technology.
I mean, there's also other things like Amazon Web Services and other competitors, but because there's so many things, I just focus on the thing that I'm comfortable with. So
So where do you see the future of web development?
This is actually a very interesting question, I believe.
Like I can only speculate, of course, but I think what is it's changing all the time. Like I've had like 10 different job roles in 10 different years. But one thing that's really going to change for sure is that technology we're also building is going to be more intelligent, in the sense that they're going to be more social. So the application we build are going to talk more with other services through APIs, but they're going to be more smart about it. We're going to see that the chatbots are going to pass the Turing test anytime soon. That's not so far away, that you don't know, are you talking with a real service person or not? Like now you can still kind of sense it, but it won't be long, let's say a year or something, that these chatbots, they get really good because so many people are working on it. It's so valuable. So when you get to that point, then it gets very interesting, because then you can communicate like with a person. The website can communicate with other websites and services. And I also going to see this combined with the IoT. And the increase in the overall intelligence is that we see all the technology realm talk with itself. So for us humans, we're going to interact with technology in a different way. We're not going to go on a website anymore. Maybe we talk with it, or have some requests. That's good for us, because the technology go in the background, but it's going to be more complex to build it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the goal. It should be easier to use. I think that's also going to
We are
happen.
already used to using Alexa and Google Assistant,
Right,
so
right.
maybe a few years down the line we'll be doing it in IT as well.
Yes.
Also, there's another trend like with hybrid app development where you have one code base that gets composed out to all the different platforms. Like you have this now with Flutter, right, where you can you have one code base, you deploy it for Android and the Play Store with one code. So that's going to be more. It's just going to be easier to build web. So there's going to a lot of web developers. They're going to lose their jobs, or they're going to transcend to the next level and make really powerful things. So that's what I wish for all developers to level up their skills and never stop learning. I'm still learning after 10 years. There's so much to learn. There's so much value to add. We're not even in the beginning in this industry, but we have to keep growing with it.
Yes, our future is going to be really crazy. What I could make out from this conversation, because you never know what is the till which end the technology will take us. We have absolutely no idea.
We are yet to witness.
Yes, we are yet to witness. Great. So before we wrap up this conversation, Martin, please tell our audience, how do you strike the perfect balance between your personal and professional life?
Well, personally, I make lists. So I write lists the day before what I have to achieve tomorrow. And I say that these are the important things to achieve. And when that's done, it's done, right? There's always more you can do to grow your business, there's always more to get more clients. You can be a perfectionist and you can burn yourself out, But, and I've been on that path many times and had to stop. So I had to set the priorities to say that the private life is as important as the work life, if that's what I want. So I have phases, right, where I say, now this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I have to do, this is important, it's meaningful. But for me personally, then I need to have, travels and I would like every day that I have the feeling that what I'm doing this for today. That I like it, not that I'm saying I'm building this app because then later I can have the money and then I can be relaxed, but that I can say I'm building this app to help this person, and it's a side effect, the money. And that then you can afford the vacation and so on. So that balance is the thing
I think the balance is the right way to create a balance is to live in the moment, right? You shouldn't think about the consequences of your actions at the moment or repercussions of what you're going to, face in the future, rather than do your thing, and put your heart and soul into it, and then get, the kind of result you are expecting. I think that is the only way to strike the perfect balance, no matter what you are doing.
Correct.
And very important not to be a perfectionist, because
I think there is absolutely no requirement of being a perfectionist. I think that concept should itself, vanish somewhere, I guess.
As long as you're improving and have yourself as your own competition, then it's no one can say that you're doing something wrong.
Right.
So that's probably.
Well, Martin and Nirti, it was wonderful talking to you guys. I've enjoyed a lot, and I believe that our audience have enjoyed equally. Well, it's again time for me to say bye-bye. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for another wonderful episode next week. And if you don't want to miss any update from us, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until then, bye-bye.